What's up, everyone? Dr. Nate here with my friend Andrew. We are going to talk about some, what are we talking about today? It's a bad intro.
We're going to be talking about physical therapy school applications for people who are interested in applying to physical therapy school.
That's right. We're going to talk about that. If you haven't watched any of our videos before, sometimes I forget what I'm talking about. If you heard that, that was my dog. So she probably needs to go out. But we're going to talk about physical therapy school.
Yeah, so I'm applying to physical therapy school right now. And what are some tips or tricks that you would recommend for people applying their first time? Like, what's something you wish you knew before applying to physical therapy school that other people watching this could take into their application cycle this year?
First thing is to apply to multiple schools. I know that some people have their heart set on one particular one, but there's so many people applying to some of these schools that even if you have a 4.0, have the perfect resume, everything is perfect, there's probably 100 other people who also have a perfect resume too. So it's not to say that you aren't a great fit or great candidate for the school. Sometimes it's just the numbers are not in your favor. Like literally nothing could be wrong. Yeah. Right. So, people get hung up on that and think that, I'm not good enough. Like I have to pad my resume more, blah, 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 blah. Really, you might just not have applied to enough schools, or the competition might have just been crazy that year. Yeah. So like I applied, just to give perspective, I applied to 6 places, only got into one. And the one I got into was like the best one out of the lot. Yeah. And the other one, like the ones in California, I think had 2,000 applicants.
Wow.
For like 80 spots.
Dang.
Right? So just think about that. 2,000 highly motivated people, probably like 500 had perfect applications. Yeah. And my application was like, I had like a 3.6, passed just enough on the GRE, like nothing spectacular. And from an academic standpoint, I mean, I played sports, and that's always a tick in the right direction. But it wasn't a super special application by any means. So sometimes it's just applying to enough places, taking enough shots, and eventually you'll get in. So
cool. Yeah,
that would be my first piece of advice.
Yeah. What's something else that you think you can give somebody that's like, what's something you wish you knew before applying? I know there's a lot with like interviews. The whole application process is very mundane. It's basically like a job application. Yeah. And you go through multiple interviews. You got to go visit the school, and there's COVID affecting so many people now with, like hours. Like I'm glad I got my acute hours early on, because even now, like a lot of people cannot get those. What would you kind of recommend to kind of people going through like this rough time of applying, and I don't know, what kind of advice would you give to them?
There are a lot of resources out there for people. So I'm going to give a shout out to Rich Severin. He actually runs the DPT students Facebook page or Facebook group. Does a great job with that. And like I would first join that, because like a lot of these questions have probably been answered in that group. Yeah. It's searchable. So I think it's Doctor of Physical Therapy Students group. Okay. It's students and graduated professionals. So that's a really good resource for people. Like literally I think there's 43,000 people in the group. So like every question that could have been answered is in there. Dang. So I would say first go to that, because that's probably going to give a better answer than I can. Yeah. I don't necessarily deal with that on a day-to-day basis where people ask me that question. Yeah. I can't really speak to the process right now as it relates to COVID, because I didn't go through that.
Yeah, that's true.
Like I have no idea.
Yeah.
What I can say is just to make yourself as well-rounded as possible. So, and then learn how to show that, right? Because you can be well-rounded, but not know how to show it.
That's true.
And then you're going to fail. Like you can have a great business idea, but not know how to market it, and it can fail. right? Lots of great business ideas never took
Yeah.
off because they didn't know how to sell it.
Yeah, or even like during the interview process, like a lot of people like have this great story, and then all of a sudden they get these interviews, and all of a sudden they just butcher it because they don't know how to elaborate their story. They don't
Correct.
know how to do that. What
How to
kinda,
tell your story.
How would you kind of recommend that? How would you tell your story?
You got to practice. It
Okay.
sounds kind of weird, but you do have to practice telling your story, because
How did you practice?
I actually had a mock interview process
Okay.
multiple times with a friend, and he set me up with the dean of the business school, who like grilled me with interview
Wow.
questions.
That's really cool though.
But it was so interesting because it was way harder than the actual interview that I did.
Really?
Yeah, the actual interview that I did, we just talked about the 49ers. Yeah, because the guy that interviewed me, the professor that interviewed me, he was from California, I think from Palo Alto.
Okay.
And so we were both sports fans, and he just wanted to get to know me. Like, he already
Huh.
saw the paperwork. He already knew, like, once you
Who
get
you
to
were.
the interview process,
You're
like
basically
in
there.
person, they pretty much know.
Yeah.
Like, they pretty much know that you're going to be successful scholastically. So now they're just seeing, like, okay, does this person, like, a normal person?
Yeah.
Are they nice? Would they fit with the rest of the applicants? Like, would they survive here in
Yeah.
New York or wherever you're interviewing?
Huh.
So
You didn't even have to talk about your story. You just
no,
had
I
to.
mean, I did. Like, he did ask about, why I want to be a physical therapist and all
Yeah.
that. But, they also asked that in the personal statement.
Yep.
Right?
Exactly.
Which, if the professor is doing their job, they would have read that already.
Yeah.
So they'll bring that up and, ask points that they want you to elaborate on.
Mm-hmm.
But practicing telling your story means that telling your story means you have to practice telling it.
Yeah.
Because there's a reason why the organization Toastmasters exists. There's a reason why, Dale Carnegie started giving public speaking classes, because it takes practice. Not everybody is just a gifted speaker that can eloquently tell their story. So practice, like, write it down and practice it.
Yeah.
And then you have to, like, basically tell it to people, and then they can give you feedback. And when people start saying, wow, or whoa, like, that's crazy.
A good sign.
That's a pretty good sign
Yeah.
that your story is impactful.
Yeah.
If people just kind of like shrug it off, then you probably have some work to do.
Yeah.
And I think most people have a great story to tell, because that's the one thing, is like, we each have a pretty unique story.
Yeah.
Even if you think yours is boring, like, I thought mine was boring for a long time. Like, look at all these other people who've, like, done these crazy things, but then they look at mine and they think the same thing. So we never think our story is that interesting because we're the one living it all the time. But other people looking from the outside do view it as interesting. Even the little details that we're like, that's not a big thing, and they're like, what, really? You did that? Like, I don't think it's that exciting that I was a punter in college and did all that, but people find that very fascinating, apparently.
Yeah.
So, like, there was a friend in PT school who I don't know if he was in Cirque du Soleil, but, like, pretty close, like, at that level. I mean, that was like...
That's huge. That's
I mean, that's much bigger than being, like, a punter in college.
Yeah.
But same thing. He was like, yeah, I mean, it was like, it's just my life,
Yeah.
But from an outside perspective, that's nuts.
That's true.
And it might not be sports. It could be something else, right?
Yeah.
But, like, there was another person that she, I think, did, like, different research on a boat in Antarctica for, like, months. Yeah, it was nuts. I might be totally misremembering that story, but stories like that, you're like, what the heck?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
But even the fact that I lived in Arkansas was
interesting.
Yeah, I mean, that I moved across the country from California to a small town in Arkansas and then ended up in New York. Like, that's a pretty unique experience. Not many people get to really experience living in three separate cultures, because they are 3 separate cultures.
Oh, yeah.
You get to kind of look at all the differences of how people behave and how they speak and what's important to them, and then you can kind of cross-reference all of those. But again, so like it's just a matter of practicing telling your story and being enthusiastic about it.
Yeah, and just being motivated.
Because you can tell a good story
but
and be boring.
Yeah, that's true.
Like you can say the right words, but your tone can be very dampened.
Yeah.
So learning how to increase your energy and tell the story with high energy, I mean, you're going to be fine.
Oh, I think it's going to help me a lot during my interview process, because I'm applying now. So hopefully because I have redone my personal statement and stories so many times, and I just can't decide like which story do I have to tell, because there's so many factors.
You could probably tell either one, and whichever one you can tell with more passion is going to be the better one, likely.
Yeah.
Because if you look at any, like even people who are selling snake oil essentially, but they're super passionate about it,
they can sell it well.
They can sell it well.
Yeah.
Like look at all these multi-level marketing and pyramid scheme things out there. Like look at their CEOs. They're so passionate about the products they're selling. And I'm probably going to get so much hate for that.
Or it's like it's like the business idea with the pen, like sell me this pen.
Yeah, sell me this pen. And it's so you can be like passion often will unfortunately oftentimes turn people's logical brain off. Like, wow, this person they care so much about this, they must like be telling the truth, or they must like, this must be a great thing. So if you actually have something real to say and you're passionate about it, man, I mean, you can do really well.
I like that. Definitely going to use that for my application this cycle. If you guys have any other questions too, I think that's kind of all the questions I really had. And I think that's kind of like a big, kind of the main hierarchy questions out there, at least just for applying to physical therapy school. It's not really like, like individual things. It's more just like well-roundedness. So if you guys have any other questions out there and you want to reach out, definitely feel free to reach out to Dr. Nate. You can comment on the Facebook post. You can comment on Instagram. You can comment on YouTube, wherever you're watching this. And yeah, anything you want to, last kind of second advice you want to give to them?
Yeah, I think I knew you were going to ask that. It's like we have these practice downs. I think the main thing is you want to continually work on yourself and making yourself better, and learning how to sell yourself more. If you can learn to sell yourself, then that's going to take you much farther than any technical knowledge that you have. So, and if you don't know how to do that, we'll make more videos on it. Ask questions below of, I want to do that, but how do I do that? Well, we can maybe make some more videos on that topic as well. So learn to sell yourself, invest in yourself personally and professionally, and have a growth mindset. I'd say that's about it. But check us out. Subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed this chat. Like this video, and we will see you in the next one.